Hey guys, welcome back. In today's video, we are talking about AMC breaking past $10, how we are outperforming the market, the imminent gamma squeeze, and many more in this video. First, we're taking a look at this. Breaking, Keith Gill's brother reportedly claimed during the X space that something is brewing for AMC and that 5 individuals could help push the stock to $8. So for those of you who don't know, this is talking about Roaring Kitty's brother, who's been very active and is talking about AMC a lot recently. Now, what he has mentioned is the possibility of AMC with the help of a few individuals to push it past $8. Now, firstly, what I want to talk about this is that obviously there are people who would have the ability to influence. If we were to see Roaring Kitty come back and then report a post of him buying into a large amount of AMC shares, I definitely think that will bring volatility. But what we have to understand is at the end of the day, AMC, even without the help of individuals, even just looking at how it's doing right now, especially the fact we are already going up another 7% today despite the market, we have in ourselves plenty of opportunities to go past $8 even without these 5 individuals that the Keith Gill's brother is obviously claiming to know. And so what we have to understand is that currently the most important point to take away from here is that there is a lot of attention in AMC right now. And that's the main question we have to ask ourselves, which is why suddenly is there so much attention towards AMC? And so this is what we have been waiting for a very long time. When we talk about some of the most undervalued stocks, AMC is definitely one that pops up. When we talk about a stock that has been constantly being accumulated, constantly being bought in, but yet has not shown that in price, AMC is still one of those stocks that is being shown. So when you have all of these factors that are put in, you get AMC. And this is why we talked about with how AMC easily has the ability to push past $8 on its own without anyone's help. But it also makes sense to why suddenly everyone is trying to buy into AMC. Now, there's a few important points as well in terms of talking about going past $8, going past $10, because at AMC share price of $10 or higher, current authorized but not yet issued shares would allow AMC management to pay back all of the remaining corporate borrowings if they so desire. So here's where you understand why people are trying to get into AMC now, why people are realizing the opportunities there is with AMC. Because when we talk about in terms of where AMC should be, even at its current state, that's with the debt included, where should AMC be? We're obviously talking about going past $10. We're obviously talking about even higher than that. And then when you talk about when AMC is at $10, and if they do so decide to raise more money to sell the remaining issued shares, then that would then be another massive increase to AMC, because we talked about paying off debt. So then you get AMC at a still undervalued value, but even more undervalued now that their debts are fully paid off. So then that's even more opportunities there is there for AMC. And this is why we talked about with how people are realizing these opportunities and why people all want to accumulate. We've seen institutions accumulate. We've seen some individuals talk about AMC as well. We suddenly see a lot of attention back into AMC recently. That's all because they are realizing what we have all realized for a long time, what we have known for a long time with the potential of AMC. And that's the situation that we are at right now. If you want to take a look at some of the zones, some of the areas that we're looking at, next area of liquidity is $3, then $5. Right now, what we have, and something we'll talk about later on in the video as well, is obviously the gamma exposure. When you take a look at AMC today, we are breaking above $2. We closed at $2.08, and we precisely talked about how the $2 area was a very important technical level. Not to bore you guys with the technical analysis, but some of the more important things to obviously understand here is that if we are able to close and stay above $2, that's an extremely strong area for people to start accumulating. But also knowing the 150 calls, the $2 calls that are going in the money right now and will go deeper in the money as we see AMC price go up, that's also going to have a massive effect. And you can see here right now, the only ticker to hedge this market right now is AMC. It's up over plus 7% today as the market is selling off. So what you'll find interesting is in the last 2 days, what we saw was AMC going up. What you also know is that in the last 2 days, the majority, the overall market was actually going down. So yesterday, the market was red, yet we saw AMC go up 7%. Once again, today, the market was red, yet we saw AMC go up another 7%. Now, firstly, this just goes back to what we talked about with how the collateral situation works. As we see collaterals being sold off, we're seeing the margin calls, we're seeing the liquidity stress on AMC short sellers, and that's why we see the price go up. And this is why we closely link AMC's price towards all of these assets, because they ultimately are all tied within the same margin basket. And so if we see these long collaterals drop, you're going to be seeing how the short positions of AMC are starting to becoming more fragile. But not only that, is how people are realizing, this is what we talked about before, how AMC is a golden investment in this market where we could easily see a bubble. When we talk about one of the biggest protection for a recession, theater industry is the one that pops up. And then when you talk about within this industry, which one yields the most potential, which one has the biggest kind of projection in the future, AMC is also one that pops up. And so there are so many reasons for why we're seeing AMC going up right now. And these are just a few of them. You can see this in an example as we see the market go down. You can see the SPY down 157, NASDAQ 265. You're seeing companies like Amazon down 1%, Nvidia down 2%, and we're seeing all of these reds right now. And AMC was up down at 944%. This is what we've said with how currently, when you look at what has the biggest opportunities, AMC is the one that's popping out. Which stock is surviving this massive market that is declining? This AMC is the one that's standing out. And this is why I've said AMC has it in itself to push past $8 and of course even higher. And we can see the market's coming crashing down now. The only reason to be bullish would be if you invested in a highly manipulated majority retail owned stock. Short sellers will be liquidated and forced to cover their over leveraged positions. But what happens if retail continues to hold? And that's the situation we are in right now. When you take a look at what AMC is doing, when you take a look at the comparison we just shown you, and we talk about how the basket of long collaterals and the short stocks, you see how AMC will start to have that moment. You start to see how everything we mentioned in the past, how the volume piling onto AMC right now are all extremely bullish. But it doesn't stop there. We are still going to be met with suppression. We're still going to be met with manipulation. Just like what we've talked about with how important it is for AMC to close above $2, you're seeing how they're trying to increase now the shares available to borrow as we see it go to 7.3 million. Now, once again, there are two main reasons. Firstly, if we're able to see AMC close above $2, it's a very good technical sentiment, and we're going to be starting to see more people accumulate. But also, the higher we go above $2, the more deep in the money this $2 course will be, and that is the gamma exposure, the gamma pressure that we ultimately want to see, and that itself will also allow AMC to have a massive run up. And so these are why the short sellers are trying to prevent AMC from going up. Another thing, if you take a look at the June 9 review, what we are looking at right now is just how well AMC is doing. We'll talk about the volume, we'll talk about how much it's going up, some of the support resistance that you need to be looking at, but more importantly, the dark pool of exchange. Because when you take a look at what AI, if AMC poses no threat, why would they send 65 to 7% of volume off exchange for years in a row? And the answer to this is something that we already know. It's because of the threats that are with AMC. It's because what happens if they don't remove the buy pressure, if they do allow AMC to actually see real price discovery, then the short sellers will be losing hundreds of millions, tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars very, very quick. And that's what they are trying to prevent. But it also just talks about how the short sellers are still stuck. You can take a look at the example. Average off exchange volume for Tesla past 30 days, 52%. Apple 43.6, Dell 47. Yet for AMC, we see 66, but it doesn't even stop there because we've seen it at 75, we've seen it at 80, we've seen it at 85. And that's the important thing about how AMC is constantly being manipulated. But also with the off exchange, you're seeing patterns of where people are accumulating, of where the shakeouts are, and what we ultimately talked about with how institutions want to buy AMC, but they don't want any retail investors to make money off of AMC. And that's why they're buying the AMC within the dark pool. Is why they're also trying to suppress AMC within the dark pool, because they just want to push all the retail investors out. When you take a look at the short interest, right now it shows for AMC is only 8.52. But at the end of the day, we know that that's not the case. When you take a look at what's ongoing with AMC right now, when you take a look at the FTDs, the dark pools, and when we talk about the actual synthetic short interest, it's obviously way higher than that. But what we are seeing is how the short sellers are showing signs of panic and desperation. Now, another big thing is Adam Aaron talking about Toy Story 5. And this is going to be a big thing because it's another great movie that's coming out this year. It's something that Adam Aaron said will be a giant smash. And it's ultimately going to help the box office get even bigger and in return allow AMC to grow even more. Yet another upcoming blockbuster. Movie theaters are back big time. And remember, with AMC being the world's largest chain, this is why we're heading for a very bright future. So we are gonna have massive success from this, and we're gonna really look at how AMC will thrive in this market. And if we are able to see Toy Story 5 hitting the $1 billion mark, it's gonna be another major thing that contributes to the box office and ultimately contributes to AMC and its revenue. And that's what we want to see. Now, earlier we talked about the gamma calls. Right now, we're seeing how more aggressive call buying is ongoing for AMC. We're seeing more and more volume piling in. We're seeing orders that are going over 10,000 in volume and expanding nearly to 120,000. So when we talk about how are people wanting to buy AMC, are the large volume piling into AMC, the answer to both those questions is yes. They are buying AMC. We are seeing the interest for AMC to go up higher. We're really looking at a rapid movement to be happening. And then for some people, if you're using indicators, you're looking at more squeeze indicators, checking the requirements of how we're seeing the imminent squeeze. And then ultimately, if AMC is going bankrupt, wouldn't have happened during COVID? Just like what we talked about with everything, just like we talked about with the box office, people are realizing the truth right now. Not the apes. The apes have known this for a very long time. The apes have known this from the start. But the retail investors who weren't as aware, some people who were kind of getting sidetracked by these media, they're now aware of actually what's going on with AMC and they want to get in with the best opportunity. And ultimately, it's why we've known that the price has nothing to do with audiences, but more to do with a campaign that's been put out by hedge funds who are insanely short on AMC. And so the more people realize this, the more they realize how undervalued AMC truly is. A few things to look at macro-wise: reverse repo, 0.3 billion. Nothing to be worrying about. However, we are extremely close to that zero. And at a time like this, where we're seeing the market dropping, where we're seeing the illiquidity prevalent increase, it does feel like that it is brewing up to something. And then ultimately, we talked about this yesterday as well. S&P was trading nearly 1.5% higher, and then it had one of the biggest reversals of the year. And this is what we talked about with how in this current market, they're going for the safe haven, and AMC is that safe haven. As always, this is financial advice, and I'll catch you guys next time.